The shadows of storm and night, the mysteries of life and light, from unearthly peculiarities, celestial and divine, to apparitions and transcendental signs. You're listening to the Spirit Podcast.
Hi, friends, and welcome to The Spirit. I'm your host, Beck. Today's episode is a bonus episode. Before we jump into the episode, Steph and I were away at a little ladies' getaway up in the Catskill Mountains. There was one evening, we were sitting out on the front deck. Light rain was coming down. And Steph started pondering and waxing philosophical as you do after a few glasses of wine. And she started talking about the world, the state of the world, and how there were these earth changes that are happening, and how everything seemed to be, well, a bit discouraging. And in that moment, I said to Steph, you know what? We're here now, surrounded by this beautiful forest, with animals all around us. Let's enjoy today. And I think a lot of us don't take the time to enjoy the present. There's always going to be turmoil and things that are going on in the world. But sometimes you need to go within. A few years back, I was very lucky to meet a wonderful woman named Elaine Thorpe. I consider her a friend. So much so that I even wrote about her in my book. Now, Elaine is a trance channeler. And in my book, I explain that Elaine channels through a man named Jonathan Hunter. Jonathan and Elaine shared a past life together. And Jonathan is just this wonderful spirit, as Elaine. Now, I know this sounds out there. There's many people that haven't experienced trance channeling or think it's a bunch of malarkey. But I can tell you firsthand from working with Elaine that it is legit. It's mind-blowing. Jonathan brings forth messages of love and compassion. He brings through world events. He brings through, most importantly, going inward and working on loving yourself and loving others. I want to play you a little clip of Elaine before she goes into trance, just so you can grasp how amazing the transition is when Jonathan speaks. So here's a little clip of Elaine.
Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I know my guide sort of moves over the subject and then goes back to the subject. I just let them get on with it, honestly. If you want your guides to speak or you want to listen to them, just relax and let it happen. That's all you can do. The best things come when you just relax and let it happen naturally. Now, I've worked that one out. I'm still trying, I'm still learning, but none of us are perfect, but we do our best. We all have our off days, but just keep going spiritually, okay? Just trust in your guides and trust in the heavens, because they know all this, what's going on. They see everything. They see more than we see. They see the futures, but sometimes they don't want to give it to us. You know, there's things they feel we need and things that we don't really need to see yet. But obviously, you'd say, why'd they keep it from us? But no, I don't think the world's going to end tomorrow. I seriously don't. Okay, everyone, you enjoy your evening, and I'm sure I'll be on here again soon speaking to you. Take care. God bless everyone. Keep going. Keep smiling.
Now I'm going to play Jonathan and his message that he shared. And I hope to continue to share these messages that Jonathan brings through, because I find them poignant and beautiful. And I think someone out there needs to hear it, including myself. So I want to thank you, listeners, for your continued support. If you'd like to get a hold of us, please shoot us an email at tothespiritpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all the major platforms, as well as the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But for now, let's listen to what Jonathan Hunter has to say.
Good evening to you all. It is nice to be here with you this evening. I do hope that you have a good listen to what I am going to say to you. And of course, Spirit, you have plenty of things to talk about from our world, of course, which is, as you know, a wonderful place. But I do enjoy coming to your earthly realm to communicate with you all. And sometimes I do have things to say, and sometimes I just have healing to give. For those of you who have not experienced trance before, and you have decided to be curious and come along this way, then everything that is done here is genuine. Of course, Elaine is learning how to further trust in the energy of me coming further forward. And eventually she may want to relax a little more so that I can come and speak further. So that would mean her going into a deeper state of trance, which is needing to be practiced over time. So now I will speak to you about what I feel should be said. It is about your world, actually, and what is happening in it at present. Of course, there are only certain things that I'm going to mention because I do not want to mention things that do not need to be said, things that you really already know about. But as we are speaking to you, we know that things are already happening in your world. It is changing with great velocity. It is also changing along with you and your situations on Earth that are happening at present. So if you look at 2020 vision, the word 2020 vision, that was a vision for 2020 onwards, you see. It was the clear vision that what was going to happen in your world from there on in. And of course, many things are going to happen in your world to bring about many, many changes, some for the greater good. Because out of the negative comes the positive. And at the moment, your world seems very much a place of turmoil. And with the Great Awakening happening, not only in a spiritual sense, but in an earthly sense of people coming forward to try to change things, there is, of course, what I was speaking about, the Exodus. And this means that people will pass as they always have done. It's not to say that you've got to worry about it, because it happens. And sometimes people pass with natural disasters. Sometimes people pass in the way that would be more expected to be passing naturally, or with some sort of health condition. But there are souls that have chosen to go in their masses amongst all of this happening. And of course, we're not going to sit here and tell you everyone is going to suddenly pass, because it is going to happen, because it is naturally happening. So in this time, with the mass awakening going on, many, many people are coming forward and telling people of their spiritual experiences, not only during their sleep state, but during their waking state, and that they are feeling a little different about life to what they did before. But I do understand that this has mainly come about more so during your time when you were spending much of your time at home, because you had to be, you see. And so people went about on their computers researching things and delving into things a little bit more, not necessarily all spiritual, but some did. They wanted to know more information about the spiritual awakening, so they started to discover that and discover themselves. And so this is going to be happening on a huge scale. There will be people awakening in the earthly sense to come forward, and there will be many more awakening spiritually. That is true. I spoke about this around 2 years ago of your earthly time, I do believe, and before that. And other guys have also come forward and spoken about it, and many people have felt it before it all happened, that something big was coming. Well, it is. The big change is coming, you see. The big change in your world. and also the big change with the Earth. Because your planets that surround it, whatever they do, is accountable to what happens to your Earth. And whatever you do here on your Earth is accountable. It makes a difference for your planet, doesn't it? So because the Earth is changing, that means that water levels can rise, and land that was once there will not be there. Earth has always moved its land. You see, that is nothing new. But it is having a bit of a surge at the moment. The Earth is erupting, the Earth is shaking. Earth, air, fire, and water are happening on your Earth. And I have spoken to people about that before. Earth, air, fire, and water. And they are all happening at the same time. And they will happen with great velocity. And that will be the earthly changes, you see. Land will separate, sea will cover. There's your volcanic eruptions that will change the shape of the landscape, as they always have done, but now with greater velocity, greater power. Yes, the whole planetary system is going to shift, a whole lot of it, in the way of your planets that are aligning with yours. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars are going to end up in the future lining up together, or almost lining up. And that will be quite some time away, but of course it will come about in the end. So I'm going to go back to the subject of you awakening. This is a wonderful time to be living, to be awakening. This is a wonderful time to go within and discover yourself, and discover all of that is, and begin to appreciate life, the beauty of the earth, and yourself. This is the time to begin to love yourself. This is the time to begin to forgive one another, no matter how hard it is. If you can find it in your heart, then you will feel much lighter and better within yourself. And that is all part of the awakening. To become somewhat, I would say, empathic. To feel another's feelings, to step into their shoes for one moment and imagine what it feels like to be in their shoes, and then you will become more understanding and more forgiving as to why they are behaving the way that they are, as I have discussed that with you previously. But I will bring these things up quite a few times so that it does remind you of that it is important to forgive, to go within, to love yourself, to love others. This is what you are learning about. You are a soul having a human experience, not a human having a soul experience. You're not going back to being spirit for a moment and then going back to being human in that sense. You are just rediscovering what you already are. And in that rediscovering, it can be very exciting. You see, it's like the beginning of going on a holiday, isn't it? Rediscovering yourself and rediscovering the spirit world that your soul already knows about, because it comes from there and it goes back there. So whilst you are here, I would say begin to study many things about heaven, near-death experience, yourself. Go within. And I am not saying this because you are thinking, oh, well, if we do all of this, is the world going to end? No, it isn't. There may come a time in the future where man cannot exist upon this planet, because it will become, as it was previous to human existence, uninhabitable for humans. But that is further down the line, so I don't want you to sit there quivering in your chairs thinking, well, we better cram it all in because we're going to go back to the spirit world tomorrow. No, that isn't the case. Because that would be a long time away, you see. But you see, I am here to give you the truth, and your guides will all give you the truth. And now it is time to face your fears in life. When you go within to face your fears head on, no matter how demonstrative they look, and overcome them. So the more that you overcome in this life, the greater you shall become. The easier it will be for you to communicate with your higher self, with the heavens, with spirit. So I would say, don't carry a heavy weight upon your shoulders. Release it, let it go, and enjoy rediscovering yourself. Be excited about opening new doors in your life, spiritually, mentally. It is a wonderful experience that I think that many people do not turn back from. Once you become this way, if you choose to turn the other way, then that is up to you. That is your decision. That is your soul's path, so to speak. It will always lead you to something. Or you will turn back and think, well, yes, I am too intrigued with it. I cannot leave it. Something is pulling me toward it. Well, it is the most natural thing, isn't it? If you were to come from it and start to remember it and have a connection with it, why would you want to leave it? So people that say that it is wrong to communicate with your loved ones, that is totally untrue. If you are doing things in the light, then you are doing the right thing. What you think is what you attract. So we come to you with the light. We love you. And we want to say to you, we want to help you on your spiritual journey. We're not going to interfere with it. We're going to help you. So think positive, become positive, not only with your spirituality, but with your life and yourself. It is not to say that you won't have any tests in life, because I cannot begin to say that life is going to be somewhat of a fairy tale. What I would say to you is you could have a much happier existence, whatever is going on, if you go within, because you will have many wonderful experiences that way, and many of you already have. You are just wanting to further that experience. So at this time when the world is in turmoil, that is the best place to be, going within. I think a lot of you are sitting there thinking, well, I would like to help others whilst this is all going on. Well, that is a good thing. But some of you sit there in fear of what is going to come next, and you're going onto your computers and saying to yourself, well, what is going to happen next? What are we going to do now? What is going to happen? Is the world going to end? Well, what good is it going to do you if you're going to sit there and worry about it? You might as well live your life to the fullest. Nobody can take your mind away from you, can they? They cannot do that. As I explained to Elaine, that she wrote on her computer, that cannot be taken away from you unless you allow another to do it. Your thoughts dwelling upon theirs and what they say to you and what they ask you to do is just a formality. But they cannot take away your consciousness and the infiniteness and the eternalness of that. It cannot be dissolved, and the soul will never, ever die. It is absolutely immortal. So no matter what someone says when they say, well, they want to take your soul or they want to kill your soul off, that is totally untrue. They cannot. It is virtually, well, it is not even virtually, it is absolutely impossible for a soul to die. So you see, rather than sit there worrying about what is to be and what is, go inside of yourself and be yourself. Express yourself in many ways that you see fit. Be brave, be bold, and discover yourself. Why fear that? Because with us, there is absolutely nothing to fear, nothing. You will still come back to being yourself, even if you get out of your body. As long as you have your silver cord attached to you, which is your spiritual umbilical, so to speak, Once that is cut, you will leave this life. But as long as that is attached, you will always come back to your body. So there is nothing to fear. Some of you will have had out-of-body experiences, and perhaps you could give that or allay their fears, so to speak, and explain it to them. What happens to you? You are still here. You are proof that you do come back to your body. So many spiritual awakenings and experiences and people coming forward that you never did see before will come out and explain what has happened to them spiritually, how their lives have changed. They will be giving healing to the people, mediumship, and all sorts of things will come to the surface. People will come forward, as they do already, to teach you how to attune yourself to oneself, how to become yourself. Spiritual speakers who are inspired by us will give talks on your computers. Learn something from it. It's not to say that you have to spend all day watching it and studying it, but it'll help you to become you yourself. It'll take your fears away. But I will tell you that there is no need to fear physical death anyway. You are just fearing how you are going to go. But once you go, that is it. You are free. Free as a bird to be wherever you want to be. The soul is expansive. It can be anywhere and everywhere. It can bilocate to anywhere that it wants to be. So there is nothing to fear. Your loved ones are there for you. That is it. You arrive in the light of the most purest, unconditional love that you could ever imagine. Everything is lit up, clarified with wonderful, sharp colors. Colors that you have not even discovered on your earth. Although you have beautiful things there, they are of great similarity to our heavens. I guess it is a few reminders of home, isn't it? Your magnificent earth with its jewels and its greenery and everything that goes on within it. Connect with the earth too. That is a wonderful thing. She heals you. Masculine, feminine of the earth will heal you. I would say look to the earth to heal you too, because, you know, the greenery heals. Not only to eat it edibly, but to be amongst it. If you feel stressed, I would say something that you would probably chuckle at. Go into the greenery and hug a tree, because trees have souls, they heal you. Greenery heals, you see, in every way possible. You find instant peace if you sit in a meadow or in a forest, underneath a tree. Although I wouldn't recommend you sit underneath a tree in a storm. But, you know, in general nature, sit underneath that tree and sit next to it and feel the vibration of it. It is alive. It has a soul within it. It is a wise old soul, and it comes to heal you. Elaine has seen the spirit of the tree. So it shows you that they do have souls, because they are living things. Everything that is living has something that is dividing and growing and becoming something that is wonderful. So when I speak to you about all of these things, it is a mixture. It can be a little bit flippant, going from one subject to another. But what I tell you all is true. Nothing is a farce. Nothing. Everything that surrounds you within you is all real. You are experiencing it. And the same is in our world. And you do have parallel universe. Yes, you do. There are other planets that have existence of living things upon them, but your world has just not discovered them yet. They are still trying to discover whether or not there are lives on other planets. So you are not the only ones in this universe. I will tell you that. And that is absolutely true. But, you know, for you to believe it was absolutely and indelibly true, you would have to discover it and see it for real. You would have to have it in front of your eyes. You would not trust your higher self to let you know that there is more than just this planet that has existence of life. Maybe they are more spiritually advanced than you, but it doesn't make them higher or lower, because consciousness is as one. It is not separate. It is as one. So on this earth, all of your consciousnesses are vibrating at different times and levels, different sounds. If you could stop and listen to them all thinking, it would absolutely deafen you with the energy of the sound of everybody's mind buzzing at once, you see. Mass consciousness all around the world. Millions and millions of people thinking at once. Think if you could hear that. So that is a vibration that is happening within the world right this second, right this minute, whatever time of day it is in your world. You are all thinking non-stop. Your consciousnesses are alive within you and immortal, thinking. Your egos are dampening it down somewhat, but they are an experience in themselves. Ego, because it is an emotion. You are complete and utter emotion within a human being. You are not a machine. You are of magnificence, with cells that have souls that are alive within your being, keeping you alive. It is an absolute miracle. Life is a miracle. So when you say, why me? Why did I come here? You chose it. And look upon it as a miracle. If you see it that way, you will see yourself as good to be alive. When you complain about getting out of bed in the morning, when you complain about not wanting to do anything, see every movement in your life, every minute of every existence, as a lucky to be alive, as a miracle. You will begin to appreciate life so much more if you see everything that way. You see everything from the inside out, the existence of it. If you were to turn yourself inside out and see what is going on inside of you, you would be absolutely amazed by it. You would be amazed. Just see it as flesh, blood, and bone, but what is going on to keep you alive is, it's amazing. It's a miracle. But that dies, you see, that part of it dies. And then the soul vacates that existence. The essence leaves it, and it is left like a piece of flesh. But it is a temple that your soul has sat in, so I guess the soul will be very thankful for that when it leaves the physical body. To say, well, thank you for giving me life there, you know. You supplied my soul with a home to exist in so that I could learn something from this life, so that I could grow spiritually. Many of you will listen to many gurus and spiritual advisors that are on the earth. Well, I am not a guru. I am not a fortune teller. I am spirit. And I come to give you what I see, what I know, what I have learned whilst I have been in the spirit world, which is a very long time, of course. But you will never know everything. You will experience vastness and everything all at once. But you are still learning in heaven. You learn how to communicate with this world. We can also communicate with other worlds as well. So no matter how much you doubt that existence of otherworldly beings, they do exist. It is not just a fallacy. It is not just a little green man walking about with two big black eyes. It is intelligence beyond belief. Some of you will already know that. Some of you will study it, perhaps, but you can only go so far, you see, unless you actually see it with your own eyes. You can only just think about it and imagine what it would be if you bumped into one of them. But maybe they cannot survive in your existence, in your world, you see, because they may have a different atmosphere that they live in. So if you're going to think about them coming here and invading your world and wanting to kill you, they would have to be able to survive here first. It's a different atmosphere altogether. Different planets have different things going on within them, and most of them that surround you are inhabitable, but they loan to the Earth their energy. They are related to her in some way. I guess you could say they are her planetary family that creates balance on your Earth. You would think that they have no purpose for your Earth, but they do. They keep it going. The Earth simply could not survive on her own without that sun out there and the other planets to support it. It all creates magnificent balance in every way possible, beyond explanation, beyond human comprehension. So they are there for a purpose. They serve a purpose. You would look at them and say, well, what are they there for? If they cannot be inhabited, then what is their purpose? They go around, they have terrible volcanic action upon them or winds that surround them, but they are there to support the Earth. It's all perfect balance, magnificence. You study that, you study everything. You will find it much easier to go within, you know. Look at all of these things that depict going within or finding out, be inquisitive about everything in life. Ask why, because you have your right to. It doesn't mean to say that that person or who you are asking is going to be able to give you all the answers, because it is endless, absolutely endless. It is a puzzle that goes on forever. What is ever, you say? How long is ever? Well, it is eternal. It just keeps going around and round and around until it goes on forever, you see, like a clock in a spherical motion, around and around until the battery runs out and you have to replace it. Similarity of eternal, you see. No end, no beginning. You have a beginning to your life, you have an end to your life, but in between that, it was all eternal, because you lived, you went back. You lived, you went back to spirit. The circle of life, they call it, don't they? So I'm going to say to you, go within and find you, you see. No matter what anyone else says, they are going to be on their journey, you are going to be on yours. They cannot live yours, you cannot live theirs. But be there to help one another on each other's journey. But you cannot live it for them, and they cannot live it for you. You see, you've got to understand that. But you help one another to get there. You see, support one another. Don't be jealous of one another or be angry with one another and say, well, that person has overtaken me. They are greater, they are lesser. Where is the point in that? You will not achieve anything constantly being angry about who is doing what. Live your own journey. Help others if you can, and they will all join you and live their journey too. But live your own journey. Do not worry about what another is doing on theirs. You probably will never meet them or see them. Only behind a screen, perhaps, or even if you do, you cannot live their journey. They cannot live yours. So let them do what they want to do. That is human. That is ego. But don't let it dampen your spirits. Keep going, because you will always go back there anyway. No matter what anyone says, that is going to have no meaning when you go home. Absolutely no meaning whatsoever. What they said to you, how they tried to hurt you, will have no meaning. It is not to say that you haven't liked or hated that person, but all it is about, it all comes back to yourself. The whole thing, the whole journey, the whole experience of the love that you find with others or give to others, it all leads you back to the center, which is you. Who else can you ever be other than yourself? You can't. You could pretend to be them, you could dress up like them. You'll only ever be you. Your soul will only ever be you. You are all of similarity. You're all human. Animals are all animals. Souls within them too. But they will always be them. You will always be you. You've got to remember that. And you cannot run away from you, no matter how much you try. You could travel around the whole world and you could say, well, I'm totally depressed. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go to all of these countries and find myself. You're already there. You don't have to go anywhere. You could travel to the far corners of the world. You could go overground, underground, into space. You're still going to be you. Uniqueness, no one like you. You could get several people looking exactly the same, still be different. Still be different. But when you are coming to spirit, you would say you're all one and the same. You still have your essence, your uniqueness, but you're all one and the same in love. No one is seen greater or lesser. You all love one another. You're all happy. You may see that as a silly fairy tale, but it's absolutely true. I will tell you over and over again until you know that it is all real. You don't just die and that's it. What would be the purpose of all of this? What would be the purpose of it all? If you just lived an existence and then died to dust, there wouldn't be any purpose for that. What would be the purpose of the universe, the vastness of it, if there was nothing other than dust after this? See, you have more than one lifetime. And some of you may live more lifetimes, and you would say, well, I'm not coming back after this. I'm going and I'm staying there. I'm not coming back. How do you know that your soul won't change the mind and needs to learn something else, the human experience? That is what you will decide when you go there. You see, your soul knows differently. It is coming here and living it that's the hard part. Well, I will let you get along with your evenings, but I will come and speak to you again. And some of the things that I shall say to you will be of similarity. But if you get bored with them, all you need to do is switch me off. But no matter how many times you listen, eventually you will get it and you will act upon it. Listen to what you guys have to say, but also listen to what your soul has to tell you. Don't ignore it. It is intelligent and eternal. It is only here, this earthly experience, for a short amount of time, although it may seem like many years to you. Start to take note of everything that exists. Don't just glaze over it, over the top of it, go underneath it, in the middle of it. Study life. Don't waste time being angry and resentful. Because when you get to look at your life, when you come to our side, you say, well, look at the years I wasted being angry and resentful to that particular person or that particular moment that was going on in our lives and ruined it, so to speak. You have life. You can walk, talk, eat, sleep, taste, See, look at what you have. That's all a miracle in itself. You will go from this life when your soul planned to. So live it. Love the people around you, even if they annoy you. I'm sure that you will annoy them too sometimes, but love each other. That's what you're here to learn about, isn't it? Have fun in your lives. Don't waste your lives bickering over differences. Get together and love one another. When you find that you are by yourself alone, enjoy that too. Don't feel lonely, because you aren't alone. You don't have to be. Our world is there for you. We will never desert you. I will speak to you again soon. God bless you all.
To the Spirit
Podcast.
Supernatural Science.
Aliens. I'm ghost.
Psychic. Mystic.
Spirits.
Divine Source.
Heaven.
The dead. It's magic.